All right, everybody. Hello and welcome back to the MC Events podcast. This week, we are not watching another event. Instead, we are here to interview Piggles. As always, I'm your host, Joey, joined by Gilan. And Piggles, thank you for joining us today.
All good. It's all good. Hello. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
I'm sure many people will be familiar with you now since we've watched you in the past couple events we've watched on the channel. But for those who don't know, who are you? And then how did you get started playing in Minecraft events?
I am. It feels weird to introduce myself. I don't normally do it, but yeah, I'm known online as Piggles. I'm a Minecraft content creator and streamer, and I basically started kind of becoming, I guess, relevant from MCC testing, and then branched out, started creating content on back when we were allowed to do content on MCC testing, and branched out onto making content, and then streamed events from there. Really.
And I know, are you part of the lads group as well?
I am.
I forget who's all a part of it.
Yeah, yeah. I am one of the lads. I'm not one of the people who's been there for the longest, but
Yeah.
I've been there for a while now. Yeah.
Block Wars longtime fans will know the lads, as that's what kind of started the creating the event in the first place.
Yeah.
And so I saw a tweet from somebody else saying, like, damn, Piggles is in every event. This man can't be stopped.
I saw that tweet. I know what tweet you're talking about.
It was an incredible tweet. And I think that tweet is a product of this tweet. I'm actually going to put it on screen that says, from you, Twitter, I want to join more Minecraft events. If you guys have any Minecraft events, big or small, and are looking for players, make sure to reach out. Feel free to send me a DM on Twitter. And that was February 19th, so a couple months ago now. And you've since played in, like, everything.
I think I've played in like 6 or 7 events since that tweet.
6 or 7 different ones too.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
I think it's close. Maybe
like 5 different ones. It's like Minecraft Mania, Pet, Pixel Playoffs, Minecraft Mayhem. I've not technically played a Block Wars since that. I don't think.
There was a Fruit Wars.
January. Oh, Fruit Wars. Yeah, I guess that's 5. Pandora's Box is 6. Okay, maybe.
So you've played in a few years. The perfect benchmark for people to see how good these events are comparative and like coins and stuff if they wanted to, because they take your points relative. I think Sheep's working on that in the MCC community. If you know the ultimate spreadsheet, he does that.
Normalizing point distribution.
We gotta know. We gotta be able to rank every player that's ever played.
That is very, very interesting.
So you've played in all these events. You obviously have a very different perspective than most people who are only like fans of one or two. You've actually played in a bunch of different ones. So what's been enjoyable about playing in all of them?
I mean, the first thing I feel like anybody would have when you first play an event or just watch them is like the experience as a whole, right? There's a ton of ways to play Minecraft. There's a ton of mini games, ton of servers, and all this. Even though I guess they are kind of dying out at the moment, but events are different, right? It's like you can't just turn up one day and just decide, I want to play this thing. You know, an event is like a set time. It's a set amount of games that are all linked. It's like it's an experience, right? And it's I came from a big UHC community, and I got into that because it is I like the experience of watching. If any of you guys know, like recorded rounds from back in the day, where people like Exostario and like that would have UHCs where they would release an episode every 2 days, and I loved the sort of spectacle of that, in a sense. The fact that it's like a separate event that was like, it wasn't anything you could see, you know, it was a limited experience. Not everybody could have that. And that's the same kind of draw that I had with Minecraft events. I found MCC, obviously, and then started testing from that. And then through connections from there, eventually went on to join a lot of Minecraft events.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's there's tons of small reasons why I enjoy it. But the main reason is the whole experience. It's something that can't be replicated often.
Yeah, because normally you log into Minecraft, you play single player, you play an SMP, or you play Hypixel or one of the other servers that are offering mini games, but they're not offering this mini games in this format.
Yeah, normally you log on to Minecraft, play Sky Battle, and that's that.
That is what people do nowadays. Yes. But if we think a couple of years ago when it was resurging, those were kind of the options.
Hypixel, SMPs, yeah, but they were the main things, really.
But question for you about so you're saying obviously events are different from other things you could play, but also events have lots of similarities between them because they're all, you know, kind of inspired by the same MCC and then the iterations afterwards. So like for example, you'll have every game will have a parkour race game that's like similar to Ace Race or Speed
Yep.
Run or Race.
Yep.
I mean, there's certain game modes that just get played across events, and in your eyes, is that like a good thing because like this is a good game mode, it's fun to play, or are you like maybe this could be different? I prefer, you know, not to play the same game every time, even though I'm in a different event than earlier.
Yeah, I mean, you said the like clearest example there. It's like the race game, right?
Mhm.
I couldn't tell you. Actually, I'm trying to think off my head right now. Is there an event I've played in that doesn't have a race game? And the answer is no. I'm pretty sure. I'm running through it in my head real quick, but I think every single game has a race game. And
Mhm.
to be fair, I don't often mind. Like if there's the thing with a race game is it's a hard concept to like add stuff to
Mhm.
without kind of changing it too extreme, if you get what I mean. Um, there are a few events that have done it, to be fair. I think Minecraft Mayhem is a good example of how to take, I guess, that race formula and change it enough so that it's still similar, but it's also its own thing. My only kind of like, I guess, gripe with it is when it is basically just, hey, look, we like Ace Race, so we made an Ace Race map
Mhm.
with all the Ace Race mechanics. And I mean, I'm also not like I don't hate that. It's just I would like to see more creativity in a perfect world,
Mhm.
right? But I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh, I can't believe they've done this. I hate this event now. How dare they want to make Ace Race? You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
you bring up a good point where it if you can't really carry over any skills from event to event, you show up to every event like having to learn a whole new game. It's actually kind of probably nice if every single game has a similar feeling in each one so that, you know, if you play a lot of Minecraft events and you jump into a new one, you're like, "Oh, this is a race game. I already kind of know how to do this. I already know how to use these mechanics," and it's kind of easier for players to learn it much
to
quicker.
adapt and have fun. Yeah.
In a
Mhm.
sense, yes, but I also one of the things I've enjoyed most about doing all these events
Mhm.
is the sort of like mysterious nature of I'd never really know what I'm getting myself into. Like, so when I put that tweet out,
Yeah.
um, I received like 6, 7, 8 DMs asking for me to join events, and I didn't want to literally just join any single event because I was, you know, weary of literal straight MCC recreations and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So I did like a brief look through. Like I'd ask for like what could I have a VOD, and I just like skim through it. But for the most, I'd like to keep myself sort of like make the event unknown to me in a sense, so that I just turn up on the day. I don't know what I'm ready for. I'm just there to play a Minecraft event. I'm there to have fun. I'm there to stream it. It's a unique experience to me, and the viewers getting like the same experience. You know that the viewers not going to know anything about these events, the people watching, and neither do I. So that you can kind of see that, and I feel that's good for these Minecraft events
Yeah, because it's
for sure.
less so like a fans of the event watching you play the event. It's fans of you who haven't seen it yet watching you play it for the first time
For
and
sure.
getting that similar experience. It's a thing you talked about though in one of the events talking about race maps, where you're like, I don't like it when I don't know the map because like it's kind of hard. Or I don't know if you say you didn't like it, but you're like, I know I'm gonna struggle a little bit more because I don't know the map, whereas other people know the map. And so there's
Hmm.
also that difficulty at times of trying to balance between new players who are going to be unfamiliar with things and the people who've played a bunch who are going to be very experienced.
Yeah, with these other events, obviously I go in and I don't expect myself to get like top 3 or top 5, mainly because I know unless they're a relatively new event, I know there'll be people playing that for the longest time who will know strategies for the games, etc. I don't mind specifically strategies of games, but it is sort of upsetting when like the race game example we brought up. You know, I want to go in without like seeing the map already, but when I do that, I'm setting myself up for failure. I can kind of recover it in the other games because there's a lot of times where I feel like my strategy and stuff like that can be unique. Like my perspective of what to do in a game, like a
Hmm.
PvP game, for example, can be something that other people might not have done. So what I come up with in my head could be different and therefore still work. But I think with race games, because it's such a linear thing, if you don't know the map, you are at a big disadvantage. And it's like I say, it's like there's pros and cons to it because the pro is it's a unique experience. You know, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm playing a race game. Oh, this is new. Like, what is this? Oh, I'm going here now or whatever. But the con is people watch me. At least I feel like a good amount of people watch me because they know I'm good at the game, right? So
Hmm.
when I play in things, I'm expected to at least perform decently. So if I go into an event not knowing a race map, for example, there's kind of more pressure on me to try to make sure that I don't do horribly.
Yeah. There's still that pressure every event to be like, you got to finish decently enough
Oh, for
because
sure.
that's
I
what people are
mean,
expecting.
I don't think I've had a super bad placement in a event. I've had a really bad placement in testing, but the lowest individual placement I can remember will have been when I didn't get top 10 in Block Wars Origins, I think. And
Probably might have
people
And
happened
that's Block
once.
Wars Origins, so that's a bit pretty
Yeah,
difficult.
that's true, that's true. But I think it was the first. Was it the first? Wait, no, I think it was the first Block Wars of season 2. So back then it was still Block
Yeah.
Wars, but
So
Block
it
Wars
been
Origins
Block
11, I
Wars
think.
Origin 11.
And it came back, and I think I got 11th, and everyone was rinsing me for it.
Hmm.
I was like, oh, I was so embarrassed. And then we played the next one, and I think I also didn't get top 10 again. And it was awful. It was awful. But
Yeah.
I think that's the worst event performance I can remember. And I'm not there like I need to get first individual every time because people hate people who do that.
Yeah.
You become public enemy number one because I mean I see it from both sides because obviously they're just playing the game, but the other side is it's boring if one person's always dominating constantly. So I don't want to go in an event and just dominate all the time. But
Hmm.
I feel like I have a standard that other people know and like I in my head have where I need to uphold myself to that. And I
Yeah.
feel like top 10 is a good benchmark for like every event. I always want to get top 10, I feel like.
Makes sense. But it sounds like that's then one of the pressures about playing in all these events, or that makes it
Yeah.
not as enjoyable all the time. Where you're like, shoot, I have to finish top 10 to,
Yeah.
feel good about this.
Yeah, I mean to be fair, on the newer events,
Mhm.
I don't feel as much pressure. I if you know much about me, I struggle a lot under pressure. Like I will fumble so hard when there's pressure on me. It's so notable in Block Wars and events like that, like Block Wars Pandora's Box. But the smaller events, I didn't have it as much with, maybe because there's less of like a it's not an event that people know is the event yet, I would say. I feel
Mhm.
like it will grow to be that. But as of time of it being played, it's not like that. Whereas people look at Pandora's Box and people look at Block Wars and they look at it as the event, right? And I feel like there's a big difference there.
Yeah. There's just
Um,
more pressure and expectations.
yeah, and I mean, I just do struggle a lot. Like, people, if you look at me during, you can even in testing VODs, which is it's kind of embarrassing, but whenever we are close to doing well, or let's say it's like game 8
Mhm.
and we're like third place or second place, and the top two teams will go to whatever final game is in that event. Um, you can see whenever I open my inventory or open chests
Hmm.
or shoot a bow, I like shake my mouse. If you look at anything where it is like a tense situation and I'm in an inventory or
Mhm.
anything like that, you will visually see my mouse shaking. Or in dodgeball, in some old testing VODs I have, I'll shoot an arrow and then I'll shake my mouse. And everybody in like we brought up lads earlier, whenever we watch back events or testing VODs or anything, they always laugh at me for that.
Hmm.
Because you can visually see
See the
how under
nervousness coming
pressure
out.
I
Yeah.
feel. It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's
Um,
it's gotta be tough. Yeah, Gillen.
I was gonna bring up that, you've played in a lot of events, and a lot of times you're kind of like entering a community that's already kind of built up around that event and playing with new people. What's it like to switch kind of who you're playing with and playing with different people all the time and being on different teams with, maybe people you haven't talked to before for the first time in an event?
I actually really like it. It's one of the best things I would say about playing in all these different events. And it's one of the things I'm scared about will change with all these events because obviously
Mm.
as they get more exposure, more people want to join, etc., and then all events struggle and start kind of meshing in and becoming the same event roster wise, right? Obviously the
Yeah.
games are different, but the roster becomes the same. And I think one of the things I do enjoy the most is every time I get to play one of these events, I'm playing it with a different group of people. It's a different experience. I can't just sit there and, in like a PvP game, I can't look at somebody and be like, oh, I know this guy. I know they play like this. They play aggressive, blah, blah, blah. It's more like a clean slate. And I also do enjoy teaming with people I don't know the majority of the time. I've not had an issue where there was like one time where it was a little bit frustrating, but a lot of people are really good at respecting the fact that they may not know me or that I am seen somewhat bigger, like content creation wise, than they are, even though I don't feel like that
Mhm.
myself. But a lot of people respect kind of that they don't cross any boundaries, they don't like self promote stuff like that. And I really appreciate that. There's a lot of chill
Nice.
people, even younger people. I don't mind. The only thing that I mind about is that you got to have a mic.
You do, yes.
I sign up for all these events, and so many of them have a question on the form that's like, "Are you okay with teaming with people without mics?" I'm like, bro, I I need to talk to somebody.
Get
I'm
you
gonna
just a
have something
whole
to bounce
silent
off of.
team.
Yeah, it's just a
Mhm.
it's just a single person podcast at that point.
They got the Discord soundboard going. That's all the responses to
One of
you.
the other funniest things in sign up forms is I won't say the certain event just in case, but there's an event where you do your typical sign up stuff like your name, who duos, whatever, and at the bottom it's like, will you follow the rules? And you have to say yes. And it says, are you sure you'll follow the rules? Yes. And then there's like a third question that's
Oh,
very similar, and you have to take all three of them saying yes. And it's like, it's an event that's been around for a long time. So obviously their old roster they must have had problems with or something. But they
mhm.
recently made the roster more like content focused and stuff, and it's just so funny. Every time I do one of those apps, it's just
You're like, I'll
will you follow
promise.
the
I'll
rules?
follow, I swear.
Yeah, yeah. So I won't break them. I swear I won't break them this time. Like,
Mhm.
You brought up a point that we've talked about on the podcast before, Gil and I, of like the scope of the event, like who's playing in it, and so who you're kind of like making it for. And you're playing in a lot of events that are more like community friends that are some of them are trying to go into like a bigger space, which means they need content creators to be bigger. How do you view as, what's the makes most sense for who should play in events in that way? Like, is it good to try to grow an event bigger and get content creators? I know Block Wars is the one you could like mainly talk about, but it seems like it's a difficult path to go down.
yeah, that's a very, very interesting one. I personally, I, like as a person, I care a lot about like loyalty and like respect in
Hmm.
a way, with just people in general. So when events have done roster changes and stuff like that, I am not the biggest fan. Mainly ones where they basically just purge rosters or just
Hmm.
leave people out without any like justification or sort of like any benefit to or like compensation, I guess, in a sense to the other people. I'm really not a fan of it. Now, obviously, it's like it's a two-edged sword in the sense that obviously events do want to grow as well, right?
Hmm.
Uh, and this is what happened with Block Wars. And there is no real answer. I think Block Wars is an example of the best way it has been done.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's probably better ways out there, maybe that obviously would take time to kind of sit on and sort of pursue. Um, but yeah, I'm not personally a fan. I think when you were saying about the events being made with different people in mind, I think
Hmm.
that's one of once again the best things about these smaller events is when they are making their event, they often don't sit there and be like, all right, we need this game, we need this game, we need like teamwork games. They just sit there and like, all right, let's just make 6 games out of these fun ideas. Majority of the time, they don't care about balance of event. And sure, that's got good things and bad things, but
Hmm.
they just care about coming up with some fun ideas which normally people would not do in the majority of bigger events out there. Like examples being like game called Shootout
Oh yeah.
in if I get this wrong, I'm gonna get hated on. I want to say Pet. Um,
Hmm.
and it's basically just like Block Wars Battle or that sort of thing, but it's all bows. I don't think any other event would attempt that. Any event higher up, I don't think would attempt
Hmm.
that. But they just thought, you know what, this will be a fun idea. Let's just try it. And I think it's really interesting. I really enjoy that game. And yeah, obviously tweaks and stuff are made for games to get better and
Yeah.
better, like every event. And that game, I think, is just going to keep on getting better. And I think there's so many examples of that across all the smaller events. Smaller events aren't afraid to take risks, I guess,
Hmm.
is the good thing with game design. And I think obviously it has its cons, but most of the time it does work well.
Yeah.
I think the issues that happen, as long as you have a strong enough community or players that will give feedback, is one of the things I do the most with events. Um, all those issues can be fixed. And then the event or the games can be unique and fun and not have to fit like a status quo in a sense.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point that something like MCC or even at this point Block Wars, I know for a fact that making a new game in Block Wars is a very long process that has to
Hmm.
go through a lot
Yes.
of jump through a lot of hoops and work through things. But at a
I've heard
small
some things. Yeah.
but at a small event, you can just throw something together and see if it works. And there isn't a big risk. Like
Mhm.
MCC, they're like maybe every few months they release a new game and they've been working on it and iterating. Like you can't do that small level. And I mean, it's the same in really any like gaming industry in general. Like that's why people love indie games. They take risks and stuff. And in our own way, now we kind of have indie events, just these kind of small events that can just be like, you know what if we have everyone use bows? What happens? Oh, it works pretty well. Great, let's keep building off of that. Yeah.
That's such a good way to put it. Indie events.
The
Yeah.
indie events.
That's such a good way
The
to
other
put
way
it.
also I've kind of thought of it is you have like the Generation 1 event, which is MCC, and Generation 2 is kind of Block Wars PB. But now Generation 3, even though some of these events have been around for a while, are these other small ones and a lot of ones you've been playing in Piggles. And I'm
Mhm.
waiting for like the next generation when like a bunch of different people who work on different events all come together and go, all right, let's take all the things we've learned and let's make the next new exciting thing.
Oh, that reminds me of one of my favorite ideas ever that I came up with, and it was like it was never gonna work,
Yeah,
but
leak it here.
in my head, yeah. So this was like a year ago, I think, and me and Alex were talking about events, and we were like, oh, we like this about a certain event, but we don't like this, and we were like, what if there was a Minecraft event which took like the best of the best? Now, funnily enough, I watched the last week's podcast episode, and
Oh, this is a
you
good one.
guys touched on this, but
Hmm.
and you were saying how it wasn't a good idea, and that's what brought it back into my head. I was like, I remember when me and Alex had this idea and we're talking about it because I get what you said there was that if everything's the best, then nothing is the best sort of mentality. Would the balance
Hmm.
work?
Mhm.
But I just think the initial concept of just we wrote down actually a game from like each event that was the
Hmm.
best game, and 8 different games, and you just chucked them all in one event, and we like balanced with like 3 PvP, there's like 3 movement, and then 2 like miscellaneous or something like that. But yeah, I remember that being one of my favorite ideas, but logistically it is a mess.
A
Uh,
mess. But instead of taking just the games, imagine taking the developers behind those games, and then together they then make 8 new
yeah.
ones or whatever format. I also think I'd say by the end of this year we'll have a new event. I don't know who or from what. That's going to be a not like 6 to 8 game format. That's going to be like, hey, this is also really cool. Let's try more of this.
Hmm.
Because right now we're all kind of stuck in the MCC model.
Or actually, it's the Minecraft Monday model still
Technically,
in a
yeah.
way. Like it's still
Well,
carrying over that mini game. But I think we've talked about before that the reason that works so well is that like Minecraft as a game is this sandbox with tons of different features, and having a game where you kind of switch what you're doing every 5 to 10 minutes is kind of the only way to really cover all those
Hmm.
cover all the bases of like what is Minecraft as an event and make sure that everyone who has their unique Minecraft skills can have something fun in
Hmm.
an event. So it's kind of hard to work around that.
the issue is that while I get what you're saying about how there's gonna be a new event that's coming up, I feel like people often gloss past how there's been quite a few attempts really of not that sort of not that sort of what's the word I'm looking for?
Style or format.
Yeah, that sort of thing, not that sort of style event. With if you look at Twitch Rivals,
Yes.
they have tried a lot of different things with Twitch Rivals, and none of them have stuck. Because they all seem to have so many like holes in them when you look at it that everybody just defaults back to the MCC-esque format, right? Because we had stuff like Minecraft, which a cool concept, but in execution has its flaws. And then there's a ton of other Twitch rivals. They had like that dungeon one, they had that puzzle map one, stuff like that, but they've not happened again, right? Because they didn't have everything that people wanted. The only example I would say of a format which was different but worked, although it is still pretty similar, was the Tubnet Craftmaster one.
Yeah.
I think that was really well received. But then again, now that I think about it, it is actually just the same format, really. It
Yeah,
was
it's just a smaller scale.
It
yeah.
was just
Just
6
smaller.
games.
Yeah.
But I guess the presentation was the big difference with that one. But yeah, I guess in execution it's the same. Yeah.
Saying those Twitch Rivals events in particular, those were ones that are like, we're going to try one game mode and just make it PvP for several of them. And it just also seems that Minecraft is limited in its PvP gameplay functionality for like a single game mode. It gets kind of boring to just crit out people, like trying to capture a flag or trying to. What was the other one? Was it there's defend the base one in Minecraft? I forget what the different formats were.
Was there like a Bed Wars type style thing where
There was
you
a
had
Bed Wars test. They have a few
Yeah,
different.
there was the capture the flag one, which
Yeah,
is
the
like
first one.
underground caving.
Yeah.
And then there was like the Bed Wars-esque one where you had to like go to the other side and mine their like block.
Yeah.
I played in both of those magically. I got subbed into
Nice.
both. And got like 7th and 6th out of 8.
It happens.
And my only issue, well, my main issue with with those that happened, while they were fun, obviously, and it was a great experience, was when I finished those events, I sat there and was like, I wasn't sad that we did bad because it was completely out of my control.
Yeah.
There's too much out of your control in those events, I feel like.
Because those were big teams too.
Yeah, exactly. That's the reason. Because there's such big teams.
But also, it has that big problem where it's styled as a competitive event, but it's with content creators, and that always kind of has this issue. I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast before, like the distinction between them, where it's really hard to get at people who are meant to be content creators. And when you get a bunch of content creators, there's the one side of people who are really good at PvP and are on the competitive side, and then there's the side of just people who are just trying to have fun. And it results in this wide range of skill that it just doesn't really end up working that well.
Yeah.
Competitive doesn't work. Yeah, like making an event with the sole purpose of it being like the toughest bunch of people trying to play the hardest games that like raw skill on display doesn't work. People try and make like the idea, the concept of Minecraft having an esports scene is like kind of cool, but when you compare it to a lot of things like like Valorant or whatever, it just doesn't work, right? Because Valorant people, the people who play the esports, 9 out of 10 of them aren't content creators. They are esports players. They don't play and are playing for content. They are playing to be the best.
Yeah.
Now there's some exceptions, right? But that doesn't apply in Minecraft. The majority of content creators aren't playing to be the best. Even people like Shane, who are seen as some of the best players, he's not playing to be the best. He's playing to create content. And I feel that's the disconnect there, is that they do just get a group of content creators instead of esports players.
You would have
you'd have to
get the sweatiest.
I think we're gonna say the
players.
same thing.
Yeah,
Who are
which
like...
also isn't entertaining in the like way that people would want it to be, because it would just be like silence. It would just be like one coming left, stuff like that. In fact, even like Valorant esports games, you don't hear them. You don't hear them when they play. You just watch the game. So if you want Minecraft esports, that's how it would work.
Yeah, it would end up being an esports style thing. Like if you'd end up having you probably end up just having as Joey said, commentators who are commentating over it. You might be switching between POVs somehow. I mean, that's also the thing. Minecraft, technically, it's from the technical side, it's really weird to spectate
It would need to
people,
be
and it
modded.
doesn't always work. Yeah, I would probably have to end up being modded. And then it is this thing where it just ends up being like you don't really connect to the players. Maybe you connect to the teams, and like you might root for certain teams and players, but really on the viewer side, it would be like one live stream, like an esport. Like it'd be one live stream people are watching. It would not be content creators streaming from their point of view.
Exactly. And I think Twitch rivals have tried, or specifically Noah, I think Piggles has tried to sort of branch out into that, because in his last events, I swear he's had, like, they have the Twitch rival stream, which is like that, where they just like have a sweeping camera and they have commentators. But there's just holes in their execution with the stuff they do. Because also, like, the MCL was that was modded, that was all custom, and they were hyping up to be like an MMO in Minecraft and stuff like that. But it just doesn't work. You can't add that depth to Minecraft. You just can't. And I feel like that was the issue there. And also, it lasted so long that nobody cared by the end.
Yes, it
And
did
it
go on
also
for weeks.
caused controversies. It did, yeah, it went for like 4 weeks or something, I think.
I
Because
think
scheduling everybody is crazy.
it's also that issue where esports in general usually succeeds because there are normal players who are playing the same game and they can like connect to it. Like most people who watch Valorant esports play Valorant, and a lot of them, especially big fans, they like playing Valorant. So like if you were to create an event, you just have to, like, if you made a game, like people wouldn't really connect with the game either because they might not get to play it. Like only the people competitively playing would have it. So it's hard to connect and like as a fan understand always what's going on. You can't like use your own experience.
Yeah, it's a game in a game. That's the other issue. Yeah, you're
that's
fully
what it
right.
ended up being.
It just kind of gatekeeps it in a sense, because like MCL, they made a public server, but they kind of just announced it on Twitter and that was it. Like I've never been on it. I doubt it exists anymore, because I don't think anybody ever played on it that I know of. But it happened. Like they tried, I think. But yeah, you're fully right with that. There's just a huge disconnect.
Yeah, I did want to mention that we were talking about Tubnet earlier, and also with other servers not doing the best announcing. I did recently watch, I think the Mr. Epic released a video talking about like why Tubnet didn't succeed and why it's kind of already dying. And it kind of talks about the main idea that in the Minecraft scene, people are really bad at advertising stuff and like getting the word out a lot. And it results in stuff dying really quickly. So a lot of public servers, it's hard to get people attached to it. Which I think is one thing that MCC did a really good job at doing. I think they're actually really good at putting out announcements and getting people involved. And like the fact that players go onto their practice server and stream themselves playing it, like, and are actually involved with the event even before the event is happening, results in people. There's a lot of MCC fans, not, Dream or Captain Sparkles fans.
But moving on from that topic a bit, kind of still talking about balancing though. Piggles, this is a argument that gets brought up a lot, especially for people who are big into who wins the event they're watching, is how do you do team balancing? Because it's very difficult to, just go based on coin averages or point averages. People perform differently on the day. You have to get like dynamics of people together. And you just kind of have to guess a lot, it seems like.
Yeah, I feel like every event has its own system of like his stats, but then in the end, the player manager just I feel like they just kind of wing it. I feel like it always comes down to that. Like you'll put together maybe like 3 or 4 teams, and then you'll have like 4 teams left to put together, and then you'll be like, oh well, hang on, how do I do this? How do I put these together like I put the other ones together? I think the issue is it's a system that you want to be precise, but it just can never really be that precise. You'd have to like rank every player from first to whatever, like 40th or whatever, and then do it like kind of like that. But I don't. It's such a tough one. Back in the UHC community, the best way I can remember balancing teams for UHCs was a thing they did called tiered, which was when, let's say it's like teams of 3, there would be 3 tiers, and each team would have somebody from tier 1, somebody from tier 2, somebody from tier 3. But obviously that system also has its flaws, because you have people near the top of the list and you have people near the bottom of the list. So you'd also try and make sure the lists themselves were like vaguely tiered, so that the people like you wouldn't put somebody at the top of tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 together. You'd put like somebody like at the top of tier 1, bottom of tier 2, like medium tier 3, something along those lines. But then you also have team chemistry to
Yeah.
to add to the balance, which is the reason why a lot of events have issues with their balancing. But also, it's important at the end of the day, if it's a content creator event, what matters is that these people, even if they're going to lose, have fun because they have people to make content with. So I feel like there's events out there that have kind of tried to get rid of the dueling system, but I feel like it's the best way. I can't think of a better way really to do it, and I feel like if there was a better way, it would have kind of happened by now.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like I mean, chemistry is the big thing, and then trying to just ensure, enough of the teams are equal in skill level, quote unquote, which that's a thing of itself that's not possible to do.
I can't think of an event where all 8 teams have been in contention. That's just kind of how it is. The best I think it's been done is like 4 or 5. I think that's the sweet spot. If you can make it so that the top 4 or 5 teams are still fighting, that usually is about
that's a solid one. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And then for you, when you like think about the favorite events you've played in for you, are there any patterns or like things that stand out of why you prefer like certain ones over others?
I feel like with events, a lot of it obviously is the team, right? So I'm trying to look at it without looking at the team side of it. I remember playing after first playing Minecraft Mania. This was Minecraft Mania 2, I want to say. It's the one that you watched the
which has been March sometime.
Yeah. I finished playing that and I was like, that was like really fun. Like, because obviously it was the first smaller event that I'd played, so I didn't know what I was like in for. I didn't know if it was gonna be like all like command blocks that didn't function correctly or stuff like that. Right? I had no benchmark to base it off, and I feel like I played that event and I had a ton of fun with people I didn't know, and it also just went way better than I think anybody would have ever expected. There were literally, and I can't praise specifically Minecraft Mania. I have so much praise for because the first event that I played with them, it was literally flawless. As in, like there were no errors that happened during that event. Like there was like a few times when I know you brought up and watching the videos where there's like transitions, which were like it would say, "Oh, move into this game," and then you'd wait a few seconds before you actually move to it, whatever. But as far as the event, literally not a thing broke. The event cycle worked perfectly. The games all worked completely as intended. And I remember coming out of that and just being like, "Wow, that was incredible." And any issues that there were there, the team that works on Minecraft Mania immediately responded to literally every single thing. Like like I said, every event that I play, I drop like a massive like. It's been so long that I've had to send 2 or 3 messages because of Discord character limit.
Wow.
Because I don't have Nitro anymore. But before that, it didn't have it wasn't a problem. But yeah, I'd send this massive like I think for Minecraft Mania I sent two pages or maybe it's just 1 page of just a list of things that I was like, I loved this. This was a ton of fun. I feel like this could benefit whatever. And I can't praise enough how they literally looked at, I swear, every single point that was on that list and adjusted something in some way, shape, or form. And it's also not the only event to do it. All the other events that I've been to with feedback. Obviously, I've not been able to like see all of them yet. But the other events as well, like Pet, I wasn't able to play the most recent Pet, but I know they did respond to a lot of the feedback that I gave there once again.
Yeah. We've heard similar things from recording the couple like reviews of these events so far. Like the organizers each one have like reached out to me and like thanked me for the stuff. Like we're gonna implement, we're gonna see what we can do. And so it's great to see.
I don't think they're used to feedback.
I know. I think they're not used to good feedback. Which I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna say Gilan and I are like great at giving feedback, but like we have a lot of experience in this, so we're coming from a place of knowledge. Whereas a lot of times you'll get feedback that's just like, "Oh, this is bad," but here we're not offering you a solution of how to fix it, so it doesn't really let you do anything to change it.
and also bias feedback. It's one of the things
Mhm.
I try my hardest in events to not do, right? Is like if something's happened to me personally in an event and I've sat there and been like, okay, that sucked, right? That thing that happened to me specifically was not great. I have to sit there and be like, all right, is this a me thing? Or is this is like a event issue that can be
Yeah.
solved by doing this? And it's one of the things where I feel like maybe they struggle with that. Maybe they have a lot of feedback which is just, oh, this is bad, and a lot of feedback that comes from people who are just saying it for their own benefit, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe that's why they acted a lot on my feedback specifically, because they have seen me in a lot of events and
Mhm.
they have a lot of trust in what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Which is why I also need to make sure I don't say
You're
anything
not saying bad
for myself. I
feedback,
have to be
yeah.
like, I make these paragraphs and I like reread them. I'm just like double checking. I'm like, yeah, no, this is stuff. I even made a I made a paint image for Pet. They had with shooters actually that we were talking about earlier.
Mm.
I brought up how spawning was an issue because you every game you spawn next to the same teams. So I
Mhm.
made a diagram, like the worst
Nice.
looking paint diagram on my phone, um, which was literally just like a very poorly drawn like square for the border with circles for every spawn with the color and the number denominating which like color it
Mhm.
was, in case I don't know you couldn't see it. And I basically said, all right, if this is the rotation in the first half, this is how you should do it in the second half.
Yep.
And I made it so that basically you would interact with every other team in that game for the 2
Yeah.
rounds apart from one,
Yep.
Yeah.
which was the best way you could realistically
That
do
is,
it.
yeah.
I will say that the developer probably hates you because that's really annoying to implement.
I mean, unless they hard code it just for those positions, it wouldn't be that
Well,
bad.
well, the issue is I've done this before. Doing a hard coded like this is this team's spawn and like labeling it that and teleporting everyone there.
Instead of
When
just going like,
you have to design a whole system to basically number each one of the spawns and then flip the like have a list of each team and what their number is and like rotate that list every round to like do like a round robin style where they get to play on three or how many of the starting positions, and that is very annoying. But once you do it, it does make the game so much better because you do get to experience, like it doesn't feel like you're charging at the same team like 5 times, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
you will almost definitely get a new experience with a new group of
Mhm.
players that round.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
it seems like all these small events are like liking the feedback, and so it's been great hearing how positive they are from what we've just provided watching a few of the reviews so far. And we're also, I think, Gilan, we're going to plan on going back and watching them, a couple events down the line and seeing what's
Hmm.
changed and seeing how much they've
Definitely.
improved since then,
that's a good
and
idea for
just
sure.
highlighting
Yeah.
how much work's being put in. Because that's the other thing. We want to make sure it's always positive. Like they put in a lot. Every event takes so much work to put on, and it's worth being praised just to get to that functioning event where all the games are fun.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you didn't know, like a year and a half ago now, I did have an event,
Mhm.
and it was rocky because it was basically just me and the coder. And if
Mhm.
I can't build in Minecraft, I can't do it. Like it's just my head can't do it. It's like how do I make this look good? Um so yeah, and the concepts back then, it was when I was more kind of introduced to events and that sort of stuff. I didn't my head wasn't in the game in a sense of like what
Mhm.
makes good and whatever, and that just helped me see how all these events, they are so, like so well made, with so many things going for them, and they do work really hard on them. It's a shame because I look at stuff and I'll be there like, man, I would love to have my own event, and then I look back and I'm like,
Hmm.
well, yeah, I mean,
It's
it's
there. It's a
it
lot of
didn't go
work.
well by then.
It's a
Yeah, I
lot of
feel
work
like
to
as
do.
well, some people might hold that against me in a sense of if I did ever do something, they'd look back at that and be like, "Well, he did that, guys.
Hmm.
So I don't know about this thing." And the big thing that held me back, there's been a lot of times where I've looked back and we're gonna make that event like we're gonna like season 2 it, like all the events
Mhm.
do, whatever. And I did like a massive doc of ideas and stuff like that, but it was always like there was never I could never get a full team like that ever had like the passion like that so many events have. and I like that. I respect that so much. The amount of time and dedication that they have to even the smallest of events. That's the reason why they can carry on, and that's the reason why they work.
Yeah,
for sure.
They bring a lot of passion and just knowledge and want to make fun things happen for their community or for other people. And it's great to see and great to be a part of it. We're gonna start wrapping it up here because we've been going for 45 minutes somehow. But so Piggles, we're gonna give you the chance to say any advice you want to give someone who wants to get into streaming Minecraft or playing events or creating events. You can start with whichever group you want.
So streaming Minecraft, the one bit of advice that I always got thrown at me. I've been doing content for like 8 years now, but I mean it's been pretty terrible until the last 2. But that's not the point. Stream Minecraft. The one piece of advice that I always ignored was consistency. Right? I was there like, hey, I don't need to be consistent. Who cares? I'm just gonna make content when I can make it. But consistency is literally key. Like I have for 8 years I've been doing it, and only the last 2 years I've been doing it consistently, and that's when I've had growth. Like not only is it good for growth, but it's also good for your own mental. For in the case of like I make a weekly video, so in my head, if I don't make a weekly video, I've messed up. Like I've told everybody that I'm going to make a video that week. So if I don't, that's on me.
Yeah.
So that pushes me to do it. You know, I stream 4 days a week, and if I don't do one of those days, I have to tell people about it. I have to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do it because of this reason. Like, and once again, that is on me, and that pushes me to do it. And being consistent also gets more people around because they know you're constantly going to be making things. You know, I make a video X time every week. People know this, so they're always going to be like, oh, I'll check this channel out at this time, sort of thing. I think that's one of the really important things. And also in an area so well, what's the word?
Saturated.
So yeah, saturated, exactly. Don't just sit there and do the most clickbait generic ass video. Like be yourself. Put people YouTube. I mean, obviously the algorithm. I mean, this is a personal thing. The algorithm is it benefits you for doing these things. But you know, if you make a clickbait video that, oh sure, it'll get 100,000 views, maybe, right? It might blow up. You might get 30,000 subs off of it. In 2 months' time, 99% of those people will be gone because that content, sure, it might have been a good video, but it wasn't you. It was you doing a specific title. It was you doing a specific thing to pull viewers in. The majority of the time, that it's like more soulless than anything else. So I would say make sure you put yourself into it. Like you as a person is why that content works because it's your content. It's not somebody else's that you've just kind of been like, oh, this works, I'm going to do it as well.
For sure. That makes sense. And is there anything to give advice to the people who are still making events right now? Because you know that's what the channel's for currently.
Yeah.
Make your scores public.
Scores public? Oh.
I've heard. Public.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. Make sure your points are open so that you can see them during the event. But on a serious note, just make sure and try and encourage feedback a lot. And specifically, I saw one event that wasn't doing this, and I wanted to help them out. Make sure that feedback is in a public setting. So don't have a feedback form. The best ways that I've seen it been done is having a channel that is, you know, has a like timer on it or something so people can't spam it, or just moderated in some sense, or just trust the roster, where people can kind of have somewhat back and forth. People can like upvote in a sense certain ideas that a lot of people agreed with, etc. Because I feel like at the end of the day, the majority of people giving feedback are doing it out of like good. They are wanting to help make the event better. And I feel like together, you know, using that feedback, you know, maybe they see something that somehow you guys you know, overlook it slightly or whatever. That is how you keep getting better. I mean, MCC got to the point because of that. Block Wars got to the point because of that. All that sort of stuff.
For sure. And that's what we're hoping to also provide by watching all these events and giving our own feedback, getting that out there so we can all learn together and keep improving. Piggles, it's been a pleasure. This is a great interview. Might have you on again later from now, or we could watch an event together, and then you could give your thoughts. Because we have to watch your VOD now every time we watch an event.
Yeah.
Oh, we're watching this event. Whose VOD are we watching this time? No, to be fair, you mentioned a few events were like, oh, what event should we watch next time? And a few of them you mentioned I've not played. So it's like, who are you gonna watch?
What are we gonna watch?
Oh no!
What do we do when we get there? You'll figure it out when you watch with everybody else. But thank you so much. We'll catch you all next time. Goodbye.